Okay, then let's talk about the Squawk It or Squack It or whatever you want to call it. This has been sidetracked for such a long time.
I know. Yeah.
What's going on with that? So.
Okay. Chris and I worked on quite a bit of material together, and he announced on his website that we had an album. And I thought, well, okay, he's announced that, so we'll work on it, we'll finish it, we'll get it done, and we'll get it out there. But I'm at the point where, so far, no deal has been offered that he feels is quite right for it. So I'm hoping that something will happen by the end of this weekend.
So he doesn't want to release the album independently or something like that?
Well, I think that he wants to release an album that's a hit. I think that's the way he sees it. Or he wants it to be given a certain amount of priority by a record company. So I don't know what it's going to take to produce that. So other than that, he and I have done quite a lot of work together, and quite a bit of it is on the new album that I've just done. So there's a solo album that has my band, the guys that you see up on stage. It also has some orchestral players, and it also has Chris Squire. It also has Simon Phillips.
Wow.
So you get an idea of what we sound like. One of the tracks is just a trio of myself, Chris, and Simon all working together on a blues track. You get the idea of what that sounds like together.
So I heard there were sessions like several years ago with you, Chris, and Simon Phillips.
Yes.
Is that the result of this?
Yes, some sessions then, and then I worked on it again recently, and there were some difficulties. Come on in, surrounding the.
In 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
They will
Okay.
be needing you there.
Okay, so.
There were some difficulties, yeah.
Yes, there were some difficulties surrounding the project for legal reasons. For me to be free to disentangle myself from previous contracts and commitments and various things. So it meant that the material I recorded then I had to put to one side. So I put some of this material to one side, and then I started work on the album that was with Chris Squire. So then this album with Chris Squire, I'm going to have to close this up. The album with Chris Squire, we started that one, and then then his wife became pregnant and he moved to America. So I stopped that album and I started work on, for a third time on an album. And that became Out of the Tunnel's Mouth. Then after a while, he came back to England and we finished this thing that was potentially called Squack It, or whatever it's going to be called. And then I got on with this other album. So I was working on 3 projects in tandem, and the new studio album I've done is as long as a double album.
Oh yeah.
Yes, there's a special edition which is as long as a double album, so there's masses of stuff on it. The regular edition is also much longer than Tunnel's Mouth. That's nearly an hour long anyway. So there's lots of music, and not all of which I was able to release in one go, just the way it is.
So can you tell me something about this new album?
Yeah.
Solo album. I mean.
I said solo, but really, there's no such thing as a solo album. It's always a team, and a very good team it was too. Playing wonderfully and beautifully produced, and I think with a lot of emotion in it, many different styles. What can you say about an album that isn't entirely subjective? You know, I worked on it and worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, you know, and then in the end you can't hear it anymore because you've worked on it so much. Your relationship with it changes so much, you know, to try and produce a perfectly polished statue almost, you know, a monument, you know, you think, well, you know, there it is. It's something separate from me, and it really doesn't matter what I think about it or not, you know. And it's been like that with recent albums, you know, when they've had so much, been surrounded with so much difficulty. You know, you regard them a little bit like people who make films. It was Truffaut, wasn't it? The French film director who did a film called Day for Night, and he was talking about making films. And he said it's like a ride through the Wild West, the Old West. You know, you start out with dreams and hopes and aspirations, and then you just hope to reach your destination in the end. So, you know, the complication of the process of, you know, achieving your objective means in the end you just want to get it finished and done. So,
so I mean,
I think that's it. So for me, completion has been more important perhaps than anything. And until you've had to fight these sort of issues, you're not really going to know what I'm talking about.
So how would you say this album fares in comparison to how you thought it would sound?
Well, it was due to be a much shorter album, and it was due to come out much earlier. I think it's improved by having had more time spent on it. But it's so diverse and so rich in so many things that I think, like any you know, long project, it's easy to forget what's on it. Even I forget, you know, all those songs that are on the thing, and so it's impossible to. It's like the Beatles in a way, you know. I always come back to that. But I think to myself, oh, I really liked Sgt. Pepper, which was a relatively short album, and I liked Revolver. And then when they did the White Album, I thought, I didn't really enjoy it as much, you know, it was more ramshackle. But then continually since then, people are always saying to me, yeah, well, what about that song? What about that song? And I think, yeah, yes, well, actually, that's really, really nice. And so, you know, it's just my lack of ability to be able to focus on all of it.
So should we finish the second part of the interview?
We could do that after I've done this. I don't know how long it's going to take, you know.